How's it going, creative family? Hope you all are doing well. Today we are going over a video by Ethan Steinberg. This is the second video I've gone over of his. This time he's working with some kind of doodle looking dog. I'm assuming he's going to be having a prong collar and a shock collar on this dog like he did the last dog. Very sneaky trainer. He puts all these tools on. He doesn't tell you how he's doing it. He doesn't tell you what he's doing, and he calls this a reactive dog tutorial. Really, all he's doing is putting a shock collar and a prong collar on the dog and correcting the dog for being reactive. That's all he's doing. So, too long didn't read. That's the way this video is probably going to go. But for his title, he says, Reactive Dog Tutorial, Stop Barking and Lunging at Other Dogs. If you want to see it first, go watch the video now, before mine, or watch it afterwards, whichever you prefer. My goal is to spread awareness about trainers like this and the sneaky tactics that they use. So if you don't like what I say or how I say it, then, there's plenty of other trainers that you can follow, but I try to speak out for the dog, and I try to speak up, in all this, in the controversy of people being sneaky. So we're going to get started. So he is showing a before and after, which we have a shock collar remote right there called the Mini Educator. And we have a loose dog. And we have a treat pouch that he probably never uses. So, and we have sunglasses on. Even though it's cloudy outside, we have sunglasses on. I don't use sunglasses when working with the dog. When working with the dog with reactivity, you never want to use any kind of punishment, any kind of force type training. You don't want to use that on any animal, period. But especially not a force, especially not a dog that is reactive. And he is using a shock collar on this dog, probably to keep it, to allow it to be off leash. That doesn't fix reactivity.
If you have an extremely reactive dog like Domino, you just saw him react like crazy.
But the point I was trying to make is they like to make a lot of before and afters, so it looks good. They have a before and after. So if I have a dog that is reactive, I'm not going to be filming a bunch of setting them up for failure with a bunch of befores so I could have a really good looking after. I don't have to prove anything to anybody to show them this dog is really reactive. Either you believe me or you don't. As a good trainer, a trainer worth their salt, they should never try to set up a dog for failure just to prove to people so people will believe them that this dog is reactive. That's just me.
Crazy. I'm going to be showing you exactly.
So again, off leash around other dogs.
Reactivity. So
his hand is probably on the remote.
We can give our dog a free, fun, off leash life. So if you want to.
No, to fix reactivity, you don't just let your dog go off leash. Just because the dog is probably reactive because of the leash. And so because of that, I want to teach the dog to accept being on leash. That yes, there's many people who say my dog is reactive on leash, so I let them be off leash because they're reactive on leash. Well, too bad. There's so many laws out there that say your dog needs to be on leash. Now that doesn't mean that you can't teach your dog, and you should teach your dog to follow the law. You should teach your dog to be okay on leash. That's what's impressive to me. That's what should be done, is teaching your dog to be able to accept the presence of another dog while they're on leash. And you can diminish their feeling of aggression or frustration or fear or whatever it may be by using force-free methods. By keeping your dog under threshold. If there was a dog over here, I would be over here with this dog on leash, on a harness, no prong collar, no shock collar, none of that nonsense, and I'd be using my treats and I'd be rewarding this dog, and we would just be walking back and forth. Whatever the distance is that this dog needs to be at while seeing another dog, then that's what we're going to do. That's how I work with dogs, and over time we can get closer and closer and closer and closer. The more I'm able to teach this dog to be able to look at dogs and look away. The dog looks at a dog and looks away, I reward. The dog looks at the dog but is not staring, I'll reward for that. The dog is looking at a dog and I make a kissy noise to get their attention and they look at me, I reward for that. The dog makes friends with a butterfly or a caterpillar, I'll reward for that. I reward for anything and everything the dog is doing while in the presence of another dog, other than the dog reacting, lunging, barking, trying to bite the other dog. If that happens, then I increase distance. That's how I work with reactive. Sorry, Allie muted the mic. That's how I work with reactive dogs in a nutshell. Allie, I need you to move, baby girl. I'm working. Now let's see how he works with dogs in a nutshell.
See how to do it. watch this video all the way through to the end. We'll see you there. So the
Is he going
first
to tell us that the dog has a prong collar on and a shock collar on?
thing we need to do when we're fixing our dog's reactivity is discover why is our dog reactive and what are their intentions. When Domino came for his board and train, we had to figure out.
I'm not a fan of board and trains, especially for reactivity, because so many people put a shock collar and a prong collar on a dog and say they're fixed in 2 weeks. It might take longer than 2 weeks. I don't trust board and trains because I don't know how people train, and so many people train like him, using force and fear and pain and intimidation. Not enough people, you don't see enough people using force-free, positive reinforcement, or as people want to say, positive only, even though that's not what it is. Positive reinforcement, force-free training. I don't see it enough, and especially not for board and train. At some point in my future, I would love to offer that to show people that yes, you can trust board and train operations, but just don't go to people who use items like this. The mini educator, the electric shock collar, that Hassan used on his dog. Not to bring that up again, but that's, if anybody wants to believe that it was a vibration collar, you're full of baloney. That was a shock collar. He covered up everything. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Ethan Steinberg. So, be careful who you send your dog to. I think board and trains should, I think you should be working with the owners and not just the dog. The dog is not the one that needs fixing. The dog needs help, and the owners are the one who need to understand what they've done to cause the dog to be reactive. Don't just send your dog off to some stranger to fix your dog. You're the one who caused the issue. You need to learn how to fix it. You need to learn how to work with your dog to stop the issue that you've created, and it may take more than just 2 weeks.
Out. Is he reacting and barking at a dog to bite them, or is he reacting at a dog to get to play, or is he just anxious and he doesn't know how to handle it and poorly socialized? There's a lot of reasons your dog could be reactive, and
absolutely,
after spending maybe
your dog could be fearful, your dog could be frustrated, your dog could be angry or upset, or they really want to hurt the dog because they've had a negative association. They're frustrated because they can't go play with the dog because they're used to playing with every dog they meet. There could be a number of reasons why. To me, it doesn't matter. I mean, yes, it's good to understand, if they really mean to cause harm or not, but either way, the training is still the same for me.
Had a day with him. We discovered he doesn't have any.
He's got his shock collar on.
After spending maybe about a day with him, we discovered.
Sorry, it was right there just a second ago. His ear just covered it.
He doesn't have any negative intentions. He's not going to bite a dog. He doesn't have a bite history. Some dogs are reactive because they are just aggressive and they do want to bite. But that's not Domino. The reason that he's reactive is because he was
There's a prong collar
poorly
on here.
socialized, and
or maybe a star mark collar. It looks like a prong collar. That's a prong collar.
he likes.
And it doesn't help that he is walking him around other dogs who are already very reactive and very overstimulated. He's not helping this person, and these dogs are not helping Domino.
What? Are you being crazy?
Ellie hears the voices. The voices in her
getting
head.
a reaction out of other dogs. And so now that we've discovered
Ouch.
why he's reactive,
Ouch. Ouch.
we can hop.
So you know what I would do in that moment? I would have him on a harness, not on a prong collar. And I would, if I even saw those dogs, I would immediately start moving away and increasing distance until I can get Domino to look like this. And then I would start rewarding while he looks at those other dogs. And I would reward and continue to reward as those dogs leave. And then I would wait for the next dog, and we would stay at that distance there. If I had to stand in the middle of this field for 30 minutes, that would be our training, or for 20 minutes, or for 10 minutes. And I would do that every single day if you were in my care. I would come here maybe twice a day, maybe 3 times a day. I don't know. It depends on how often, how quick it takes for Domino to decompress. Careful, little one. Ellie's just being full of herself. She's a little jumping jelly bean.
To start fixing the problem. So now that we've discovered why our dog is reactive, we can start getting to the bottom of actually fixing the reactivity. And there's one thing that you guys need to know when you're working on reactivity training with your dog, and that is There's three parts to it. There is a stimuli. In Domino's case, the stimuli is a dog walking by.
So he could very well have his hand, he's on a prong collar now, and he could have his hand on the e-collar.
And often in reactivity, that is what the stimuli is.
I would rather the dog, instead of popping the dog and letting the dog get that close, I would rather be walking by with a treat up in between my eyes and having the dog look at me, giving me eye contact. Or if he's beyond the point of looking at me, having to use the treat, then I would just use the cue of look at me, where he can look at me for a distance while we're walking because we faded out the treat, and then I can reward him afterwards. A lot of people are going to, be upset because you have to use a treat with your dog. Well, it's better than electrocuting your dog. Or sorry, it's not electrocution, but it is a shock. I mean, if you plug in a plug and it shocks you, it sparks you, and you say, ouch, I got shocked by it. You're not going to say, I got stimmed by the wall. The wall shocked me because I was plugging in a plug and something happened and it backfired or something. There was a rebound or something. And sometimes you get shocked. That's just what happens. Careful. Gosh, Ellie's just going absolutely psycho.
A dog walking by near him. That is what's going on in the environment. Second part is how Domino responds. What is his reaction? Does he bark? Does he lunge? Does he do whatever, right?
Still too close. Ouch. Dog clotheslines himself at the end of a prong collar.
That's a behavioral response. If he does nothing, that's also a behavioral response. And the third.
Progressive Commercial Insurance offers affordable small business protection. You can receive discounts on commercial auto insurance.
And the third part is what we do to either reinforce or punish the behavior.
You don't need to punish the behavior. All he does is punish. He doesn't reinforce anything. All he ever does is punish the dog.
We want to make a difference by letting our dog make his own decisions.
And then pat, not even a treat, way too late for the treat.
Behaviors that we want to be repeated or discourage, other known as punish behaviors that we don't want to be repeated.
You don't need to punish a behavior. It's not necessarily, especially not in this environment. He was walking too close to the other dog. I would walk way over here. I would have him in a sit, or I would just be standing there, or we would be walking back and forth. And as these people walk over here, then I would be rewarding him the whole time. I would give him opportunities to look at the dog and look away and reward him for that. I'm not going to wait as long as he did to reward the dog after a head pat and then the reward. His reward timing was too late.
And this works 100% of the time if you do it properly.
Oh, yes, proper punishment, proper timing of punishment. Yes, you need proper timing of punishment, but I'd much rather have a mistimed treat than a mistimed correction. I'd much rather have an extra treat or... What is wrong with you? I would much rather have a mistimed treat than a mistimed correction, because with a correction, your dog stops trying as much. And there's different levels to correction. There's corrections that he will use as a pop on a prong collar or a shock collar stim, or there's a correction of not getting the dog not getting the treat. There's a whole system, plethora of levels in between those two extremes.
Corrections takes a lot of training, weeks and weeks of training, but if done properly, it works 100% of the time, no matter how bad the dog's reactivity is.
So he just says punish your dog. When you do it right, it's okay to punish your dog because it fixes the behavior. It's what he's saying. He's saying his dog training tutorial, reactive dog tutorial for him, is punish the dog's behavior. That is what I hear him saying. And he's still talking to the camera on a cloudy day with sunglasses.
Which is a lot of trainers can't say that they can fix 100% of dogs' reactivity, and I promise you if you do it right, you can. All right, so
I can, by using positive reinforcement and never punishing the dog. Not having to rely on this dummy's tools. Not having to rely on a shock collar, on a prong collar. That's easy. It is so easy to correct a dog and stop their behavior by correcting them. You correct them hard enough, shock them loud, high enough, they're going to stop doing whatever it is that they were doing. It is so easy to correct an animal. It takes time and patience to actually reinforce them and teach them without having to rely on punishment.
Hop into actual training. The first thing that we do with our reactive dog is we don't go and work on all this obedience. We don't teach them anything. We might teach them a loose leash walk and a heel, but that's it. We let Domino, we hook him up to a prong collar, and we let him go out
Okay.
and make his own decisions.
So there you go. There it is. Put a prong collar on him, let him make his own decisions, and then I'm just going to pop and correct him. That's what he does. That is how he trains. What did I tell you? This is not how you fix reactivity. He just simply corrects.
Careful.
He simply corrects the dog. That is it. He doesn't use any positive reinforcement. He only uses positive punishment. He doesn't even use negative reinforcement. He uses positive punishment. That is it. That is all he does.
Bring him into areas that there are the stimuli that causes him to react.
So there's an off-leash
And
dog.
we want to add our punishment or our reinforcement
He
to
actually
it. So we got treats.
popped. Jeez Louise, dude. Just looking at the dog, and he popped him hard. Look, the dog comes back. So let me tell you what I would do in this instance real quick. I would not be anywhere near an off-leash dog. I would have him on a harness, and I would be at a distance away. If I saw this off-leash dog, I would be walking away to make sure that this dog does not come anywhere near us. Because if I have a reactive dog, I don't want them to be bombarded by an off-leash dog. So I would walk a distance away. Say we're at a good distance away, and there's still the off-leash dog, way, 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 way in the distance, and we can barely see them. Say, they're like the size of this bush, compared to this size, but they're way in the distance. They look like an ant. Then I would be rewarding my dog. I would be walking around. If the dog followed me, I would reward. I wouldn't have to pop him. I wouldn't have to correct him for anything. Then we can get closer and closer to where if I know my dog is okay, then I would like this dog to be leashed, just so I know. But then we can eventually get close enough to where we're here, and the dog is still focusing on me versus the other dog, and I can reward, and we can get closer and closer. I'm not looking for this dog to necessarily make friends. I just want them to be able to tolerate another dog. Now let's see how he does it.
And we want to add our
Dog
punishment
comes to
or
him,
our reinforcement
rewards,
to it. So we got
looks
treats,
at the dog,
we
pops.
got kibble, whatever your dog might like, high value, high reward.
Kibble is not high value. And that's probably what he's using here is kibble. He didn't need to pop the dog and correct the dog. All he needed to do was reward. He didn't need to pop.
Whatever your dog might like, high value, high reward. And I don't put
because the dog still looked at the other dog. The dog sat down and looked at the other dog.
kibble, whatever your dog might like.
See, the dog
high
still
value,
sat
high
down and
reward.
looked at the other dog. So why didn't he pop it again there?
And I don't put Domino into a heel. All we do is we
Good,
walk
thankfully.
around, we have a little bit of distance between us and the stimuli, which are the dogs, and we let Domino make his own decision. If he gets worked up, we are going to correct him.
No, you're an idiot. You're an absolute idiot and a really poor trainer, because no trainer worth their salt is just going to put their dog in a situation, say, okay, make your own decision. I'm just going to correct you. That is the easiest, dumbest way that you can train a dog. That is the easiest way that any old Joe can just walk off the street and say, hey, I'm a dog trainer. And that's exactly what this idiot is. That's what this guy does. He just goes over, pops the dog on the leash, and then he charges people probably hundreds to thousands of dollars for it. I don't know what he charges. I don't care what he charges. Probably some ungodly amount. Far more than what I would train. And I would actually teach the dog because I actually have an education. I have experience. I have been doing this, for 10 and a half years, one time. This guy has 1 year of experience 10 times, meaning he's done the same thing over and over and over and over again. I've been doing this for 10 and a half years, 12 years with my Shiba, but professionally taking money from people for 10 and a half years, almost 11 years in January. I've been doing this, and that whole experience is one time.
Correction level has to be the right level that we get his attention for him to just look at us.
Or you could not be a jackass and actually have him at a level where he's far enough away, where he's under threshold enough to where you can give him a cue and he will automatically give you his attention. Or he gives you his attention on his own because he sees you as a better thing than the other dog. Versus waiting until he gets distracted and then you pop him hard with a prong collar. This guy is an idiot. He's a very bad trainer. He's a very poor trainer.
Some examples that I can give you of a correction that is too
Ouch,
low.
ouch,
Domino
too.
here is a very powerful dog and needs some heavy corrections.
Oh, okay. So he's a powerful dog, so therefore he needs heavy corrections because this jackass here doesn't know at all what the hell he's doing. So he's going to rely on just abusing an animal in the name of training. Okay, I see the way it is, Mr. Ethan Steinberg. I see.
And so if all we're doing is popping and he's not
So he
looking
popped him there for absolutely no reason. The dog is now
at
confused.
us, I know, good boy. He's not looking at us. He's going to just keep fighting through the correction, and it's not going to do anything. It's going to teach him actually to fight through it. We want the correction level to be enough where he stops and pays attention to us. That's all we want. Good boy.
Because he's afraid and because it hurts. God, this guy is an absolute jerkwad.
When we have that proper correction level,
Ouch.
if
Ow,
we give
ow,
a
ow.
timely correction,
Did he use the e-collar as
that
well?
proper correction level, if we give a timely
No, he didn't. Ouch.
correction with the right correction level, we can get our dog off.
The dog was still looking at the other dog, jerkwad. The dog only went and looked at you for a second, but he's still paying attention to the other dog. You're a
when
failure.
we have that proper correction level,
Ouch.
if we give
Still
a
looking at the other dog.
timely
Looks at you for a
correction
second.
with the right
Looks right back at
correction
the other
level,
dog. Still
we
looks
can
at
get
the
our
other
dog
dog.
off.
Versus if you use positive reinforcement, I guarantee this dog would be looking at me over the other dog without having to look back and being afraid of any corrections. I guarantee this dog would be focused way more on me and what I have. Yes, because I have treats. He's not looking at the treat pouch. He's looking at me in the eyes because I make that rewarding. He's looking me in the eyes to say, hey, when am I going to get my next reward? And that's absolutely how I train. And that is how I feel anybody should train, that the dog is not, they're looking to you because they have that positive association. That good things come from you. It doesn't have to be in the form of a treat. During these training sessions, yes, absolutely, you're darn right it's going to be a treat. It's going to be a high value reward. If he liked balls, then I would have a ball with me. If this dog really liked tennis balls, I would have a ball on a string or a rope, and we would have tug, and I could toss a ball for him, or I could throw a frisbee for him, or I could have a Kong for him, or whatever it is that this dog likes. But food is just always the easiest way to overcome fear. Food is the number one way to overcome fear. Food is the easiest way to reinforce a dog. And so that's why I would use a treat pouch with treats, with high value treats in it. And I would work with that other dog maybe 5 minutes, and that would be our lesson. And I would be so happy to work with this dog. And just, it's so rewarding when you can work with a dog and know that you're not harming them and you're not causing any pain and you're not, and they can, it's euphoric. I can't explain how rewarding it is when I know that I just have to reward a dog for their behavior. If the dog is staring at the other dog, then I'm going to back up a little bit. If they're still staring at the other dog and I can't get their attention, no matter how much I move around, no matter how much I call their name, no matter how much I squeak a ball to get their attention, if they're still staring at the other dog, I'm going to increase distance that much more until they will look at me willingly. I can ask for a sit and they sit the first time. Or even if it takes a couple of seconds and they're like, okay, I'm going to sit. You know what? If it takes a couple of seconds, they may be thinking, why is she asking me to sit? I'm not used to sitting in a field like this. So then we would work on that. We would work on anything. I mean, it's not about the obedience, but it's just about if this dog will give me other behaviors versus staring at the other dog. That's how you know your dog is under threshold. But this guy is an idiot and he will never know that because he relies on correction and the dog is still not focused on him. The dog is still focused on the other dog the entire time.
And then after that, we fill the void behind a correction with good, positive behavior. And
it's too late. Take out the middleman. You don't need the correction because the dog is already fearful. If you just use the reinforcer, which is the food, then that's all you need. If you do it right.
Showing a dog exactly what we want our dog to do.
That's all you need. It is so much simpler and you get so much better of a bond with your dog if you do that and you don't worry about the correction. You're a fool if you think you're unskilled, if you think that you need the correction. If you rely on the correction part of training, then you're unskilled. And that's just it. That's my opinion, is that this guy is just so unskilled.
Work on this for a week or two. At least here, we're going to work with dogs a lot. This is probably a...
Great, so he's going to be... Ellie? So this guy is just going to rely on punishing this dog for 2 weeks. 2 weeks of punishing this dog. I told you, he's using the prong collar and the shock collar, and that's what's going to be teaching this dog not to go after other dogs. That is how he works. Now we got the neighbor dog howling. This is just a whole cluster ball.
Week or two of just training. This is most of what we're doing. We find places where our dog is going to react. We bring our dog to it to actually work with our dog on.
He doesn't work with the dog at all. He finds a place, he sets the dog up for failure, he knows the dog is going to react, and he corrects the dog. That is how he trains. End of story.
The behavior. And by the end of this part, our dog should be 90% better. They're not going to be 100%
Still looking at the other
better,
dog, not looking at him. Ellie? The dog is still looking at the other dog, not looking at him at all. It shows the failure in his method.
.90 to 95% better.
Still
Not
looking at the
reactive,
other dog.
You know, potentially still looking at dogs when they walk by, and it really
Please.
just kind of causing an issue, but no serious reacting or lunging or going crazy, at least for the most part. And once we have that,
Because you're just
we can move
holding him back with a prong collar. Ellie, please. Okay, Ellie's just going to keep interrupting me, so we're just going to try to fast forward a little
we
bit.
can start working on these sits, the downs, the stays. We have tons of videos on our YouTube channel. You can go check them out. It's very easy to do, but we teach our dog basic obedience, adding distractions slowly as our dog gets better with it. Once we have that, we can introduce our dog to an e-collar. Again, tons of videos on how to.
Okay, so he's just talking about then after you get them obedient from, you know, the punishment of being, so he fixes the reactivity by punishment. Then he gets them off leash with a shock collar. That is it. That's how he works. That's the rest of his video. Totally unnecessary. I don't agree with his method. I think it's just a bunch of baloney. I think he's not a very good trainer at all. This is not how to work with reactivity. You don't just punish reactivity and that's that. This guy's plan of training is just punish reactivity. So that's what I think about it. Ellie is finally settling down because she's in my lap. So I'm in a very awkward position, but we're just going to end that there. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of this video. Say how do you do to your little critters. Say how do you do for me. Give them some kind of love and they appreciate. And until next time, practice peace, patience, and positivity.